Okay, it's time to check in with Dr. Chris Labos, cardiologist with a degree in epidemiology and a regular contributor here on CJAD. You can, by the way, catch him every Sunday on weekends with Joanne Vrakas at 7:20 a.m. Dr. Chris, let me begin by asking about the story that I saw a headline. Headline looks interesting. 4 in 10 cancer cases could be prevented globally. So how significant and which 4?
Well, yeah, so you're right. It is very, very significant, but it's more important a story globally, more so than here in Canada, because the biggest risk factors that are driving this are things like smoking, HPV, which causes cervical cancer, Helicobacter pylori, that bacteria in your stomach that causes stomach cancer. So those are really the big ones. It's really sort of lung cancer, cervical cancer, stomach cancer. Those were the big 3 that were driving most of the cases. And they are due to risk factors that, we haven't completely eliminated them here in this country. But the good news is that we are pretty good at handling stuff like this, right? Smoking rates are lower now than they have ever been. I mean, most women have access to pap smears and HPV vaccines. So, cervical cancer rates have really dropped off in this country. Don't forget, not that long ago, cervical cancer was the most common cancer in women. And now it is really in free fall to the point that people are even talking about eliminating it altogether. And stomach cancer is not very common in Canada, partly because we are much better at testing for H. pylori and eradicating it when it's detected when somebody has a stomach ulcer. So we here in Canada are actually doing pretty good, but there's many parts of the world where, these things are not well controlled. And when we look at the global burden of cancer, it is a big deal, and it really just reinforces in one sense, this is a good news story because it means, hey, we're doing a pretty good job here in Canada doing this stuff, but it also reinforces how important it is to have a well-functioning healthcare system, because if you don't have a family doctor, if you don't have somebody that's checking you for all this stuff, that's, pushing you to quit smoking, that's making sure, doing regular pap smears, making sure young girls get the HPV vaccine, the same sort of stuff could start happening here in Canada. So we are not immune from these problems. I think these reports just highlight how important it is to keep doing the stuff that is working, which is, all the stuff that we've been doing over the past, 10 to 20 years.
Yeah, and by the way, to your point, so 3 cancer types you mentioned, lung, stomach, cervical, account for nearly half of all preventable cases, and we know we're making strides in these areas.
Yeah, here's the thing. A lot of people are worried about cancer, and justifiably so. But, all-cause mortality for cancer, at least in Canada, is largely going down once you adjust for age and population size. You see all these reports of, number of cancers growing. Well, yeah, they're growing because the population is getting older and getting bigger. So, of course, you will have more cancer cases overall. But when you adjust for cancer mortality, your risk of dying of cancer is actually lower for you than it was for your parents, precisely because we smoke less, because we control all of these things, and because we are much better at treating the risk factors that feed into cancer overall.
So I want to go to the next story today. It's funny, I remember talking about this a week ago. It seems to be a very good year so far, 2026, for coffee, or at least for coffee drinkers. If you are one of those people who enjoy your morning coffee, your 2 or 3 cups a day, and we have to specify you can't be drinking 10 cups a day. That kind of takes you out of the group. There is a new study that shows there are cognitive benefits, never mind cardiac benefits, cognitive benefits to drinking caffeinated coffee. Please tell us more.
Right. So this was what's called an observational research. So they used patient databases in the U.S. So they used things like the Nurses' Health Study and the Health Professional Studies. These are large databases of people who work in healthcare, nurses and doctors. And what they periodically do is they periodically send them questionnaires and ask them, what do you eat, what do you drink? And so these types of databases have been very useful for identifying many different things that lead to cardiovascular disease and many other types of cancers. And so part of the questionnaire is always asking about coffee consumption. So when somebody is able to look back at this data and analyze it, they can always see trends and associations. And the most recent one that has been published is exactly what you said, that the people who drink tea and coffee at around the 2 to 3 cups per day level tended to have a lower risk of dementia. The one caveat to this, and this is an underlying problem with all nutrition research, how reliable are these self-reports? When somebody says, I drink 2 to 3 cups of coffee per day, are they really drinking 4 to 5? How accurate are these sorts of things? Because the problem with food questionnaires, whenever you rely on patient recall, you always worry that
Sure.
people's memory can be a little bit fuzzy.
But either way, I mean, the people listening now were having that morning or, that cup of coffee or two in the morning. Um, there's nothing to worry about here. I always say it that way because there have been so many studies suggesting, otherwise. So in the last couple of weeks, as I said, it's been pretty good for coffee. One about cardiac issues and then now another one about cognitive issues. Don't be concerned is the basic bottom line here, right?
Right. I don't think there's really any danger to coffee. I mean, somebody should almost write a book about coffee and coffee myths. And, that's the thing. There's no real danger to coffee. The one downside to coffee, and I think the point that's worth highlighting, is that when you drink coffee, you should be drinking coffee. If you're adding a lot of cream, and especially if you're adding a lot of sugar to it and putting a lot of flavorings in it, there are a lot of calories in that. And so a lot of the stuff that's being sold at like Starbucks and Second Cup and all that, I mean, these are closer to milkshakes than coffee. So just be careful you're not consuming more calories than you realize when you're ordering your coffee.
Shameless plug, by the way, for Dr. Labos. Speaking of coffee, your book is called Does Coffee Cause Cancer? And 8 More Myths About the Food We Eat. If you want to read up on it, Dr. Labos is the author. How's that book selling, Dr. Labos?
I think it's selling pretty good. I mean, for a Canadian book, I mean, I don't have the 2025 numbers, but the 2024 numbers were pretty good. I think it sold, a few thousand copies here in Canada. So, I mean, it's pretty good for a Canadian market.
Absolutely. Listen, I asked a question. I'm going to come back to this after 4 o'clock, so I might as well ask you as well. There's a story today. Major union in Quebec is going to try to suggest to the government provincially that it should introduce a tax on sugary drinks, the idea being 30 cents per liter. And when I asked the question to our listeners, the first reaction when someone hears the word tax in Quebec is, no, not another tax, enough. But I'm wondering what you think about this idea, right? We know that other places, other jurisdictions have done this. It works. It cuts consumption. Do we need a tax on sugary drinks? How big a concern is sugar?
I think it's a big concern. I think we should totally do it. Actually, if anybody wants to know my stand on this, I've written a few articles for the Gazette about this, so just go online and you'll be able to find them, like Christopher Labos sugar tax. But here's the thing. It has been tried elsewhere, and you know what? It works. When you do it, number one, it raises money for the government, but also, most importantly, people buy less sugary drinks, which makes them healthier overall. Like, the sugar taxes do work. The problem we have with our food is that if you look at the price disparity between like healthy food and junk food is just so much cheaper. So the only way to sort of address that, you either make healthier food cheaper with food subsidies and, food programs which exist, or you make the junk food more expensive. And the easiest way to do that is with a sugar tax. And so, yeah, I'd be in favor of it. We've proven that it works. It's just a question of actually applying it here.
Is it fair to say, I mean, part of the rationale here, I guess, outside of the fact that, hopefully the money could be used, for the healthcare system, the rationale is that diabetes cases are going up, obesity is going up. All of that is factual, though, right? So this would be a step in the right direction, I would think, to deal with that or not?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So here's the thing. Even if you have it in a very, very limited way and apply it only to sugary beverages, so basically soda, so not like other pastries and other stuff that are sugar.
Okay.
Even if you apply it purely to sugary beverages, sugar-sweetened beverages, it has an impact. People end up buying fewer soft drinks, and we know soft drinks are a major driver of obesity and diabetes, especially in kids. So if you can create this financial disincentive, which is essentially what this is, like people say like, oh, this is a sin tax, this is just an excise tax. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. But you know what? We've done it before. We've done it with tobacco. We've done it with alcohol. I mean, there's a reason why governments use these types of taxes because they are effective at changing public behavior. So, yeah, I would be all in favor of it. I don't think there's an actual real downside here.
Okay. Now, I would tell you that as soon as you say this, beyond the word tax, people are like, well, there's sodium in there too, and diet soda is not good for you either, and aspartame causes cancer. What do we say to those people?
So aspartame absolutely does not cause cancer. I think the evidence on that is very, very misjudged. So if there's ever a sequel to the book, one of the chapters is going to be about artificial sweeteners, because I think a lot of what's being claimed is untrue. What's fascinating is if you go back to when these products were first approved in the 80s, everybody was worried about brain cancer, and then everybody sort of forgot about that. And now everybody was worried about bladder cancer, and they haven't realized that they've flipped the narrative, with no real reason for it. So I don't think the evidence is there for harm. I'm not sure that the diet sodas are really that much of a step in the positive direction. Better to drink water, but I really don't think that aspartame.
Well, now wait a sec, though. Wait a sec. If we're going to tax sugary drinks to get people from drinking less sugary drinks, why are diet drinks not a better option?
Because they haven't consistently led to weight loss when they've done the studies. And there's a lot of hypotheses as to why. Nobody's entirely clear. There is some suggestion that in people with very extreme forms of obesity, that's where you see a minimal benefit. But it, in and of itself, it tends not to make the biggest difference. And it's somewhat unclear as to why.
Okay. By the way, someone did send a message or a text saying, aspartame causes cancer. And as you just said, that's completely overhyped. It's worth pointing out that alcohol is a bigger carcinogenic than aspartame. So
Absolutely.
we're not taking that off the shelves anytime soon, I guess.
Not yet.
All right. Dr. Labos, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. You take care.
You too.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years. And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.